All right, hey everybody, we're back. Another episode. Dr. Jason, give us the latest insights on the front line who just got finished doing surgery, helping go through someone's chest to fix thoracic spine. Jason, thanks again for all you do. Thanks for being here. New or frontlines information you could share that would be helpful.
Sure. First off, David, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here and to speak with you and discuss issues that are really important from a global standpoint, with regards to how people are dealing with the coronavirus pandemic and all those sorts of things. As of March 2021, I'll be president-elect of the Society of Brain Mapping and Therapeutics. So that's actually the World Brain Mapping Organization. And we actually published a paper on coronavirus and pretty much the pandemic and what it did to a number of people, not only from a financial standpoint or medical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint. Mental illness was a really huge topic in this whole issue. On the front lines, still things are the same. You're getting monitoring different things for things like temperature and, are you having headaches? Are you having neurological issues? Have you started having any nausea, vomiting, coughing, things of that nature? Simple signs or general signs that we know are relatively common to the coronavirus or really any other illnesses or if you've been exposed. At least in Louisiana in the South, and even in different places that I've been to, now it's become mandatory to wear a mask, and I think that's something that everyone's wearing it. I think it's really good. It's worked in some countries. In other countries, they're starting to see their numbers ramp up again, and we're also seeing that here. So overall, it's as long as we continue to do what we're doing, but be more hypervigilant about how we're doing it. I think we're going to see some light at the end of the tunnel, especially in light of the new vaccines that are coming out.
Yeah, that's all great information to hear, and congrats on your appointment. When it comes to a vaccine, what can you kind of tell people about that and what you've heard so far?
So I think the vaccine it's certainly a step in the right direction. As a worldwide issue that we're dealing with, finally there's something, at least in the workhouse, if you will, that's going to help. It's not FDA approved, but they have shown a 95% efficacy just in terms of trying to protect you from the coronavirus and the illnesses that come with it. So my hats go off to the science. I think it's a message to the world that science isn't sleeping, and they're continuing to push the label just in terms of trying to protect the world from this horrible virus.
I don't like needles, so I never get the flu shot, and I'd be very hesitant to get this kind of vaccine.
Sure.
What would you say to people that kind of feel that way also?
Well, I think it's one of those things that for those of us that fly on airplanes, I'm a little afraid of heights, but if the plane's going down, I'm certainly going to grab a parachute and jump to safety. So needles are never fun. I don't like needles myself. Even as a surgeon, I don't mind administering something, but I'm not crazy about needles. But when it comes down to this is a pandemic. It's not only to protect yourself, but also to protect your loved ones. And it really is a life and death situation for many people. I recognize that over 16 million people in this country, contracted this horrible thing. And, we've surpassed 300,000 deaths. So I think those numbers, really, it's hard to wrap your mind around it.
It is.
And when you start to think about it and what it's really continuing to do to us as a whole, as a culture, as a country, as the world, at that point, I think you have to kind of, again, check yourself. And that needle's only going to come a couple of times. So how bad can it really be if you're going to save yourself and save your loved one?
Yeah. Now, the other question or concern that I would have too is how do I know how effective it's going to be? What are the kind of things that are in it and kind of what side effects? I don't know if you would know that off the top of your head, but if you do you have anything to share on it?
No, those are very good questions. First of all, it's an M. They're both, at least in Pfizer and Moderna, they're both mRNA, and what that means is mRNA is it's a type of if you think about it, it's more of an instructional package. It's teaching the body to produce proteins that are very similar to COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2. And so what that does is when you are exposed to it, the body already has some sort of instructions as to how to fight this thing off. You know, the efficacy we know is about 95%. There are some side effects that are looming. You know, we know that some facial weakness can occur, but we'll know more about this as more vaccination shots are administered. Overall, you know, is it something, you know, we think that these things may be, you know, temporary, but I think the benefits, at least at this point, what we're being told, you know, it appears that the benefits are outweighing the detriments that can come if you contract this horrible disease. It's not 100%. There are no vaccines at this point that are approved for coronavirus, so people need to understand that.
Yeah.
These vaccines are being released under emergency circumstances, and you know, this is kind of wartime medicine, and we do have you know, a gun in the you know, in the slot, so to speak. So gun in the chamber. So you know, I think it's the best defense that we have at this point.
Thanks for sharing that. That's very useful and helpful for me, and I know a lot of other people that'll be listening. What do you think the future kind of holds? It almost seems like it's going to be a repeat of this year.
No, that's a really good point. You know, we don't know how long these vaccines are going to last. You know, how long the efficacy of this administration is going to last. So you're right. One of my concerns is what's going to happen 6 months down the road. You know, it's going to really take time to further understand what the true efficacy of this vaccine is capable of. Is it going to provide some long-term protection against this horrible virus? And we know that the virus mutates, and we're going to have, you know, more surges. And so my concern is that in 6 months down the road or 1 year down the road, we're going to have essentially a so-called false sense of security, because we're not sure at this point how long you're going to have this protection. And so, you know, the numbers may again rise because you no longer have protection, but you think you have it because you've actually been given the vaccine. You know, I think something people also need to understand is that the vaccine itself, it's genetically engineered, so it's not going to give you the virus. And there were some people that thought that you could get the virus from the vaccination shot, and you can't. It's all genetically engineered. But again, yeah, you're right. How does 2021 going to look? How is 2022 going to look? I think as the world, what we should learn from this is that becoming a cleaner society, the vaccine is not going to eliminate, you know, the pandemic completely. What's going to happen if we want to truly address this? We have to become a cleaner society. We have to continue to social distance. We have to continue to clean our hands and be cognizant of the germs that can take our lives and that can take the lives of our loved ones. So if we don't learn this lesson and we repeat essentially what's happened in the past, then we're going to see this again. And you know, make no mistake about it, the ICUs are going to continue to fight this for years to come. It's really more of a matter of, as we learn more about the vaccines that are out now, and other companies are still pushing the label. There are predictability models that are being created through AI, and those predictability models we're hoping will provide us with some information as to how one person might react to a vaccine. Also providing some information as to what places or areas one person might stay away from, because they might either bring some danger or detriment to that to the particular demographic in that region, or they might put themselves in danger. So there are a number of things that science is continuing to push the levels, and really my hats go off to the scientists that are doing it.
Yeah, you said something in there that was pretty interesting. They're going to do it with AI. So I'm trying to picture that in my head. Could you explain that a little bit?
It's one of those things where companies would have to would need a portion of a person's DNA, for example, and they would look at all the pandemics from long ago, and they would basically create these predictability models, and some of these companies are already doing this, and they would base it based on temperature change, the demographics, the health of a person, what might change in that particular society, what's going on at that time, and be able to predict how your DNA might react to one vaccine versus the other, or what might actually be the next pandemic, what might be in the future, and how we might respond to it. So I think it's very intriguing.
It is.
And like I said, there are a number of companies that are kind of scratching the surface with this.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you think people should know or you want to share?
I think the reluctance, one thing I'd like to say, I think the reluctance to endorse or embrace the vaccine, people are more inclined to take it now. And I think that's a big step, in the right direction for many different reasons. We are learning more and more about the side effects. We are learning, more and more about some of the myths that were out there. And I think that, we can all, I think before you put out bad information or believe bad information, get together as a group and have intelligent conversations or log into areas that are really talking about it. The Society of Brain Mapping is certainly one of them. And get an understanding as to what the vaccine, how it's created, what it's doing, and what it's able to do and what it's not able to do. And I think as a culture, as a global population, that's going to help not only you, but your loved ones stay alive and live to the next generation.
Absolutely. Is there a country now, a bigger country that's doing much better than the others?
Well, that goes back and forth. Just when we think one country's doing really well, they're talking about now shutting down. So it depends on the number. It almost depends on when you tune in. There are reports that came out just this morning that there are two countries. I don't want to blast them, but they're seeing now a third wave, and they're thinking that this new strain, obviously a mutated strain, is much more virulent than the first.
You talked in the beginning about mental health and that being a big issue. Are you seeing that? Are you hearing that more or seeing that more working on the front lines?
I think it's being recognized more. I think it was always there, and as an organization, the Society of Brain Mapping Therapeutics published the most comprehensive explanation and overview of what it did in terms of not only your financial the financial decline, the medical illnesses that came with it, but also the mental illnesses that also came with it. And I think more and more people are now figuring out that just more people are talking about it. You go into a situation where now you're shut down when you're having to live life essentially ways that you thought you never would. I mean, we're living really a lifestyle that we thought might just be kind of really futuristic,
right?
But we weren't actually prepared for it. So in that, there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of people that don't know how to deal with it. There are a lot of people that lost their jobs, and they're worried about just life, their loved ones, how they're going to get their next meal. And then this virus is still spreading, and the surges are still there. And then you have another population of people that really don't take it as seriously as they should. So all that in combination, the mental illness has always been there. I think just more people are talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's important to point out because I think we mentioned it in one of the first talks we did. The waves hit, and then the effects from that wave hitting are also a major part of this. So, but that's why, again, you said come together, have intelligent conversations about it, figure out what we can do to help other people that might be in need, and also keep the conversation going. So, Dr. Jason, thanks so much for being here. Any last famous words before we end this interview today?
Be smart, practice safety, wash your hands, and wear your mask.
Very good. I feel like that reminded me of one of those old Hulk Hogan ones, like eat your vitamins, eat your vegetables. It sounds simple, but that really, so many people aren't doing the basics.
Absolutely.
And as I teach, and when I speak to people when I'm doing trainings, the fundamentals are what people, if they just got back to the fundamentals, there would be such a difference.
100% agree.
Because so many people, it's a lookover point for them. They say, okay, I've been there, or I already know that, I've heard that. Well, you've heard that, but are you actually doing it? That's the question. Because if you're not doing it, you don't really understand it. Because if you understood it, then you'd be doing it.
Correct.
So, all right. Until next time, Dr. Jason, thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, David.